crime. A tourist will be fine unless you somehow end up in a gang. So if anyone wants to overthrow the government with me, feel free to leave your comment below and we will take down the economy. Yes. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new around here, I am Yvette and I moved to London about 2 to 3 months ago, and so these are some of my observations about living in London and the UK in general. In this video, it's a bit of a negative one. We are going over the things I hate about living in London. I will preface this by saying I still love living in London, however, everything has a negative and a positive to However, there is a negative and positive to everything, and if you are thinking about moving to London, I think it is super important that you know the negatives and the positives so that you aren't thrown off when you get here and maybe experience some of these things as well. So this is something to be aware of. Do I think it means you shouldn't come? No, but if you are visiting or moving here, definitely be aware of some of these topics. So with that said, we'll get into it. I'll stop justifying my opinions because I'm generally really positive, so I don't like being negative, but let's be real. The number one thing that I do not like about the UK is smoking. Now, I come from Australia and we're actually really fortunate in that we have some of the best anti-smoking campaigns and really low smoking rates and good smoking legislation, so that I don't really experience smoking anywhere. This is the thing around Europe and also London, is that there is just more people smoking. It's not crazy, it's just that I'm from somewhere that has none, so I notice it a lot more. So if you're walking down the street and someone in front of you is smoking, you just get a face full of smoke the whole time, so I'm like racing forward to get around them so that I could get in front of the smoke, things like that. However, vaping is really popular here, which if you're vaping and you have something that smells nice, I have no problem with this. That's fun, because sometimes I'll be like bracing for the grossness that is tobacco, and then next minute I'll get a fruity smell or like sugar and sweets, and I'm like, this is great. I encourage this. If you're gonna smoke, at least make it nice for everybody else. That's so much fun. Number two that I do not like is the TV license. So I mentioned this in my culture shocks video, but it's just so expensive. You know, I don't mind, I like the idea of it, but realistically there's 8 million people in London, which I know that's people, not houses or whatever, but then the houses have apartments, so blah, blah, blah. Point is, I think they're making a significant profit versus if they were advertising. Because if everybody in London hypothetically paid £1 out of their tax for it, they would make £8 million. That would offset it. So making everyone pay 100 seems so extortionate. And there's people that don't watch the BBC. Like, I don't really watch the BBC, so I'm basically paying £100 to watch Bake Off. No, I'm not even. Bake Off's not on BBC anymore. Bake Off is Channel 4 now. And I watch Love Island, which was ITV. So no, there's not a lot. I stream Netflix and I play video games, neither of which should be on the TV license, but you still have to pay it or you get fined. So I do not love that. Please tell me below if I can somehow get around it. If you know it, please help me, because it seems like a scam. Number three is the tube. Now, I put the tube on my loves because I love how it gets around and how on time it is and how frequent they are. However, the tube itself could use an upgrade. Number one, it's very loud, which I see like I see old people and children sitting there covering their ears because it gets so loud sometimes, or if you have a dog, it's so distressing for them, or if you're just trying to talk to someone, you literally can't talk, you've got to just pause and wait, you can't even yell, it's so loud. The seats, I would not want to know what's on those seats. I can't imagine it's good, because of my next point, there's no air conditioning, so in summer it's just an oven, like it's so hard. I'm fortunate that I don't catch the tube for work frequently, like I don't travel into an office, but if you're in a suit on that tube, you'd be sweating so much, and that is what I think the seats are gross, because you're gonna have all these bodily fluids in those seats, or foods, or grossness. Yeah, no thank you, no thank you. Could use an upgrade, bring on air conditioning, redo the seats. I've been fortunate that I traveled to like Japan, who has I think the best transport system, where they have like a TV screen that tells you how many minutes away you are from every stop. So if you're like, I want to get off at Harajuku, it'll be like, in 15 minutes, get off. And the seats are like heated, and in summer they're cooled. Everything's clean because Japan is the future. It's great. So tube is good, could be better. Would rather it have air conditioning. On that note, number 3, the lack of air conditioning in general in the UK. I think if I owned a house here, which I do not, I would put air conditioning in it, just because I've come from a life with air conditioning everywhere, and it's so hard to not be in control of my own temperature. I'm aware that like in winter it's not that big of an issue because it never gets that hot here, but I think if it gets above 25 or 26, I could use the air conditioning, and it does get in summer above that. I'm quite fortunate, I live somewhere quite high, so I can get a breeze going through my house, but if I didn't, it would be a nightmare. Fans just don't cut it, I don't care what you say, and they have these heaters all through the house, so I was like, well, why don't you just get an air conditioner that does both? It seems old-fashioned. Also, global warming's happening, get on board, invest in some air conditioning companies because they're gonna go off. Number 5 is the rent. Now, I know Sydney is expensive, so I'm coming from an expensive place, but it doesn't change the fact that it's crazy expensive to rent here or buy property. It is a touchy subject of mine because I always think like, how are young people going to own houses, or like renting isn't a good like long-term situation. You're spending like $20,000 or pounds or whatever just renting. We're in like a nice place, but it's small, which is what I want. I wanted to spend my money on quality, not quantity, but you look at what you could get in other countries and it's just absurd, and maybe Brexit will fix it. I don't know, maybe that'll be the one positive out of Brexit, but the rent prices here are insane, and if you look back what they were a few years ago, it's just gone up and up, and it's bleak. Number 6 is there's too much choice. There's too many things to do, which sounds like my weakness is that I'm a perfectionist, but it's true. You don't know where to go, you got so many shows on, there's so many bands that come that you physically either can't go to them all or can't afford to go to them all. Where I come from, Australia, we had nothing on or nothing happening all the time. And now there's so many festivals that like you can't even keep track because there's no one place to post about it because there's just so many little things happening everywhere and some big things, and I'm just spoiled for choice basically. It's a good thing, but also my wallet would disagree because I spend all my money doing things and not saving. Number 8 is house prices. I'm in my 20s. I would like to have a family one day, maybe. I would like to have a home to put them in. I'm a planner. I would like to have a home before I had kids so that I can ensure that they're provided for. I don't want to wait till the child's here to then have to try and make a house, because as great as kids are, they don't make anything easier. That's so hard. To buy a townhouse, so that you're not even a freestanding home in London, is like £1.2 million. That's pounds, so that's $2 million, or that's a lot of money. Like, that's so much money. And I just hate the idea that our generation is basically just going to be in debt forever. So the idea that you could ever pay off your home is just so far gone. Like $2 million on an average salary of like 50k, and 50k dollars is still decent. 50k pounds is like, no one's on that. Like, is it just that we're never gonna retire, or we're just never gonna own a house, or we're just gonna live in shoeboxes? I don't know. But it just makes planning for the future so hard. I always like to work towards a goal, and the goal of owning my house and living with freedom and not owing anyone money, looking more and more unattainable, and it upsets me because I've saved and I've worked really hard, and it's just so unrealistic, and I don't know how to fix it, and that bothers me. I like to be able to have some autonomy, and I can't change anything, and that upsets me. So if anyone wants to overthrow the government with me, feel free to leave your comment below, and we will take down the economy. Yes. Number 8, I'm gonna say the small supermarkets bother me. I put this in my culture shocks video about how everything is small and there's so many different brands. It's really frustrating that you can't just go to one store and get everything. And I'm not asking for like, you know, fancy vegan food. I'm just talking like tofu. Like, that's a staple in... Number 9, sirens. Yeah, so like having to walk to 50 million different stores to try and find just my basic cooking needs is so hard. yeah, I find that very frustrating. I do find it cheaper, which I'm gonna make a video on the cost of living in London. So it's not too expensive, it's just so much effort to try and be like, okay, so I've got to go to Sainsbury's for baked beans, and then I've got to go to an Aldi for my vegetables, and then I've got to go to an M&S for tofu, and I've got to go here to get miso. Like, it's just, surely you could just have one big supermarket, which I feel like that's a London problem. Probably not if you're elsewhere in the UK, but it is annoying, to be completely honest. Number 9, bar fridges. Is that what we're gonna call it? When I was looking to rent, I looked at, I think we went to 15 different viewings, and basically every single house and apartment had a bar fridge, so like a baby fridge, not like a proper full-size fridge. So I was like, okay, well, where's the freezer? I have to like, and I'm vegan, so I don't even eat meat, so like normally you'd freeze your meat, but I like freeze bananas, ice cream, you know, the essentials. And I was like, I don't know, this is so small, I don't know how we're gonna handle having such a tiny fridge. And it just seemed to be the norm that if you rent an apartment, you get a bar fridge, you don't get a proper fridge. And I was like, what? We accepted we're gonna have to rent a house that had a baby fridge and then buy a big freezer to put our stuff in, which takes up a lot of room as well and it's super annoying. We were really fortunate that when we found our current place, it had a proper fridge, but it was like almost every place we looked at had these tiny fridges, and I was like, how are people living on this? Do they eat out all the time? I don't understand. Like, we cook all the time, so we use our fridges a lot, and we store food or we food prep. But yeah, it did my head in. That was a big surprise. I should have put that in my culture shock video, because yeah, what's with the small fridges? Number 10, definitely the worst thing about living in London, the moped thieves. So what these are, if you don't know, is that these bad men, the baddies, will get a motorbike or a Vespa, they'll steal it, take the license plate off, put on all black, put on a helmet, then they drive past people in the street, and if you're on your phone just doing this, they'll run past and take your phone, and you can't get it back, and they speed off. I haven't had it happen to me. I've heard of it happening to friends of friends, and it happened to Daniel because he was playing Pokemon Go. So dumb. I'm pretty on guard with it. One, I'm not coordinated enough to scroll and walk, it's too hard for me. However, if I'm looking at a map, I need to track where I'm going. What I'll do is I'll look at the map, remember like, okay, go up here, turn left, look at the map, okay, then I put it away, and then in a while I'll make sure I've made the right turn or whatever and check in. But I'm not just like walking around with it out like this, because like someone's gonna take it. There's signs everywhere for it, it happens so frequently, and there's no way you can get it back, essentially. So what they do, obviously when it happened to Daniel, we weren't idiots about it. I got on the internet and I was being a hacker. I felt like a hacker anyway, because I was like, signing into your cloud, remote wipe, bam. So like, we had to call all of our banks and like disable phone banking, like all the devices, because I didn't want them getting to our savings. Basically had to reset all your passwords because all the apps are on there, but I did do a remote wipe through the iCloud anyway. But essentially what they do most of the time is that they just take the phone, turn it off immediately so you can't track it, and then sell it on the black market. So when I have Find My Friends on for Daniel, so when it does turn on again, it might be like in, I don't know, like Saudi Arabia or something, because they sell them on the black market. Definitely the worst thing about living in London is that. But in terms of other crimes, to be honest, not bad. Don't really have any issues with it. I know there are stabbings, I often talk about stabbings as an issue. So that was the thing I was most anxious about when I moved here, was like, stabbing crime, I don't want to be stabbed, I don't want to be mugged, blah, blah, blah. At least with the mopeds, it's non-confrontational, they just take it and go. They're not like threatening you with a knife or whatever, and it's, you know, stress. It's just gone, which I honestly would prefer than have to like, you know, be held at gunpoint or something. But I was worried about the stabbings. So from my research and experience is that the stabbings are usually gang to gang, and it's usually like youth gangs stabbing each other. So still bad, but not going to be me. So a tourist will be fine unless you somehow end up in a gang. If you would like me to make a video on all of the scams to be aware of in London and how to prepare for them so you don't get scammed by people or stabbed or robbed, give this video a thumbs up for crime. How about tell me in the comments below, that's probably more appropriate than a thumbs up for that. Tell me in the comments below if you would prefer that, and give this video a thumbs up if you like this video, and tell me what you hate about living in London. Is it anything that I've said? Is it something I haven't noticed yet? Is there something you'll be like, you'll hate this one, you have to blah blah blah. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and subscribe so that I can see you next time. So bye.